Hey everyone, welcome to Autism Awakening, the podcast that helps you help your child with autism. My name's Dr. Jared Skowron, and I've been an international biomedical autism doctor for over 20 years. Our podcast that has over 160 episodes is designed to give you ideas of how you can help your child with autism recover to their fullest potential. We specialize in using natural therapeutics instead of pharmaceutical interventions because, frankly, it has a mountain of scientific research on how it can help, and currently there are no pharmaceutical interventions that help with brain development. So, today's topic, we're going to be discussing melatonin. Now, melatonin is a really common over-the-counter natural supplement to help with sleep. But there's a lot of questions about it. There's a lot of questions about its long-term safety. There's a lot of questions about its efficacy. So today what we're going to do is unravel melatonin, what it is, how to use it, and frankly, what to expect from it. So let's kind of jump right in. And of course, our podcast is set in science, so we always have scientific research studies to show you guys. In addition to the scientific research, we're going to be sharing my 20 plus years of clinical experience on how to help these kids. Now, if you're new to Spectrum Awakening, we record our podcasts live on our Facebook page. Our Facebook page is Spectrum Awakening, so if you ever want to be part of a live podcast recording, get onto our Facebook page every Thursday at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm halfway between New York City and Boston, and I take my Thursday lunch, and we try to help you guys and educate you and show you that there's so many great ways, and what we need from you, and this is really truly something that only you can do and I can't, is to spread the word. There's other parents out there, other families out there around the world that have kids with autism, and they don't even know that there's something that they can do to help their child besides sending them to therapy. Send them to speech, send them to OT. I get it in school. I go to ABA. That's what my pediatrician told me. I don't know what else to do. Boy, there's plenty to do, and it's scientifically researched and proven. So let's jump into melatonin. And before we get into melatonin, let's just talk about sleep in general, okay? Sleep obviously is really important for all of us, even especially kids who need it to get brain development. And a lot of our kids don't sleep well. Even kids not on the spectrum, they don't sleep well. And that's affected by a lot of things. So I think the first thing that I really want to talk about before we jump into melatonin is kind of talk about sleep environment, all right? The ideal sleep environment is one that is calm and one that is quiet so that you can get restful sleep. And we're going to be looking at research studies that even talk about where to begin is beginning with your sleep environment. Okay, number one, you want to be in a place where you're comfortable. You also want to be in a place that is at the right temperature for your comfort. And certain people like to be warm, certain people like to be cool. I think that's really important. You want to make sure that the room is a good temperature. You want to make sure that you've got the sheets and the blankets that make you feel or make your child feel comfortable. I think temperature is a really great place to start. The other thing, obviously, is keeping the room dark, okay? Our brains sleep in the dark. Our brains, for however long humans have been alive, have associated nighttime and darkness with sleep. Okay, so keeping a dark room is a great way to help sleep. Now, I understand a lot of kids are scared of the dark. It happens. I was when I was a kid. So we have night lights. All right, and what I want to say is that, you know, night lights should be the right color, because if you have a white night light, okay, that's going to resemble the light of the sun. All right. If you have a blue nightlight, it's going to resemble the color of the daytime sky. All right. And our brain is made to be associated to that. I find it better to use a nightlight that's either red or orange, something that resembles the colors of sunset, because frankly, those light waves trigger our pineal gland, which we'll get into, trigger our pineal gland that it's time for sleep. Okay. So you have to balance lighting, you have to balance temperature, and of course noise. I mean, we're not the only people sleeping in that house. So if there's pets or there's outside noises or, you know, hey, the rest of us are awake when you go to sleep at 8 or 9 o'clock, that that's going to roll into it. So I do find that sleep machines and sound machines can kind of create white noise and block out the other sounds of the house that might wake our kids up, especially our kids who are light sleepers. All right. And I think the other thing to get into is co-sleeping. And I know a lot of my patients, and again, for those of you new to Spectrum Awakening, I have a telemedicine practice where I help families with kids with autism, and we talk about sleep a lot, and there's a lot of co-sleeping out there. And, co-sleeping is not ideal because you need your space, they need their independence. And I get it. I mean, I had a child who didn't sleep for 7 years of her life, so I understand how co-sleeping at least gets you some sleep, all right? And that's what we all need. So if you're in there every hour, every 2 hours with your child, you're not getting sleep, and we start to go insane without enough sleep. So I understand how co-sleeping can be something that, geez, I need to sleep. I need to sleep. I need to get through my day, and I can't if they're waking up all the time. So them in bed with me is my solution for right now, all right? But I don't want it to be your solution forever because, frankly, I hear a lot of my patients say, hey, my child sleeps well because we co-sleep together. I disagree. What I find is that the child is anxious, okay, has separation anxiety, doesn't want to be alone, very common in kids. They wake up, they see you, maybe they touch you, maybe they don't, they fall back asleep. But they're still waking up through the night. They're still not getting their solid sleep. And that's what we want in our kids. We want solid sleep. So let me talk about one more part about sleep, and then we'll get into the science about melatonin. We sleep in 4-hour cycles. Okay, that's how the brain is developed to sleep. We go down into these different phases of light sleep and deep sleep and REM sleep when we dream. And then we kind of come back out of it around 4 hours. Hopefully we don't wake up and we go back into another sleep cycle. So I want you to think about that as you're thinking about your child's sleep cycle. Did you put them to bed at 9 and they wake up at 1? It's a 4-hour sleep cycle, all right? Or do they get 2 4-hour cycles and get a beautiful 8 hours, which is just frankly amazing? Hey, I'm down at 9, I'm up at 5, and hey, that's 8 hours, okay? Now, we would love our children to have more. I'd love my child to go to bed at 8 and get up at 7. That would be amazing, but just how our brains are wired are in these 4-hour cycles. So think about that as you're thinking about how my child is sleeping or how my child is waking and when they're waking up and what that means. Now, the way that our body falls asleep is with melatonin. Okay? Now, many of you have heard of melatonin. Melatonin is a hormone produced in our brain. It's produced in a part of the brain called the pineal gland, which I mentioned a little bit ago. The pineal gland produces melatonin that kicks off this sleep cycle. Okay? So I kind of call it the Big Ben. The bell rings, the bell tolls, and our sleep cycle begins with melatonin. All right? Melatonin only puts you to sleep. It does not keep you asleep. All right? Melatonin's got to be out of the system pretty quickly. So we're going to be talking about that as, what to expect when you give melatonin. But what's important to understand is, does my child have trouble falling asleep? Does my child have trouble staying asleep? Or does my child have problems with both, frankly? Okay? So think about melatonin. It's the fall asleep trigger. Now, melatonin is triggered to be released in the brain, released from the pineal gland when it's dark. Darkness instigates the melatonin released from the brain that creates the sleep beginning. All right? Now, like I mentioned, we want to make sure our room is dark so that the light is not keeping us awake, because if there's a lot of light, our melatonin isn't going to be released. The biggest problem, and a huge problem in the past 20 years, are screens, phones, tablets, TVs, okay? They are the light from those things for some reason gets into our body deeper than just a regular lamp or a regular light bulb in your house, okay? So if your kids are on their screens when they're going to bed, they're really not setting up that sleep cycle. All right, so turning off your electronics, turning off the phones and the tablets and the TVs, a good hour before bedtime is really going to help everybody. And I know we all use these devices as babysitters, right? That's kind of life. But if you've got sleep problems, you've got to think about that. You've got to think about this sleep environment, the temperature, the noise, the darkness, the turning off the electronics, all right? Things that we can do even before we start having that conversation about melatonin. Okay, now let's jump into melatonin. So we obviously, everybody or many people, most of us are familiar with melatonin. It's that hormone produced in our brain, creates the beginning of that sleep cycle, and it's a really great way as an over-the-counter supplement to help people with sleep. Okay, because hey, sometimes they just can't fall asleep. You take some melatonin, and boom, you get into that sleep cycle, and the rest of your night is gravy. Okay, that's great for people who have problems falling asleep, but may not be great for people who want to stay asleep. So let's just kind of start there and get into the science of melatonin. Again, we're talking about ways to fall asleep. Should I take a supplement of melatonin? Is it safe for my child? What dose should I use? And about starting this sleep cycle. We'll get into how do I stay asleep after we talk about melatonin, because it's pretty straightforward. But let's get into that science. All right, let me find my cheaters. Here we go, cheaters on. All right, so I've only got a few research studies today, but I actually printed out the entirety of one research study that I really found intriguing. So I wanted to share with you all the details of that. But you'll get the idea. Most of the research on melatonin is pretty similar. All right, here we go. Melatonin, clinical use in autism. Reduced melatonin secretion has been recorded in autism. Therapeutic benefits of melatonin on sleep disorders in autism were observed. Melatonin may also have a role in improving autistic behavioral impairments. No major melatonin-related adverse effects were described in typical development and autism. Okay, basic, straightforward, easy to understand. Kids with autism have sleep problems. Melatonin can be used to help you fall asleep. Seems perfectly safe. No big side effects from melatonin. Okay? That was just published 3 years ago in 2021. All right, here's another one. Melatonin and circadian rhythm in autism. Decreased melatonin levels were detected frequently in autism, and melatonin replacement treatment for sleep disorders accompanying autism has given satisfactory results. Melatonin in the clock-controlled genes were also common in autism. So let me kind of bring back that last statement and what that meant, because the first part is pretty obvious. There's lower melatonin production in kids with autism. So compared to their same age counterparts that are neurotypical, our kids with autism have less melatonin. That means we're asleep, all right? But giving melatonin is pretty satisfactory. So that's part one. Part two, it says mutations in the clock-controlled genes were common in autism. What does this mean? Well, we've got 20,000 different genes, and I talk a lot about genetics in our podcast and with my patients. And there are genes that control your internal clock. They control how your body understands time, when it is during the day, and how your body should respond just based on habits, okay? I mean, how many of us wake up 5 minutes before our alarm, okay? Why do so many of us, when we're in a habit, wake up at a certain time, get tired at a certain time, get hungry at a certain time? Because there's part of our genetics that controls our internal understanding of timing and where the sun is and what we're going to do through the day, okay? Why am I always hungry at my meal times, okay? Because we have a routine, but there's part of our genetics that can feel that timing. It's pretty cool stuff, okay? All right. Next. Melatonin in autism. Clinical studies have reported improvements in sleep parameters with supplementation in autism, including longer sleep duration, less nighttime awakenings, and quicker sleep onset. Nighttime administration of melatonin was associated with better daytime behaviors. Adverse effects of melatonin were minimal to none. Again, great straightforward study. Sleep problems in kids. Give melatonin. It works. It's safe. All right. There are some small side effects which we'll get into. But again, I know there's a lot of concern about this long-term safety of melatonin, but frankly, it's not seen in the research. All right. We'll get into some of the mild side effects, why that happens and such. All right. Here's another study. Long-term efficacy and safety of pediatric melatonin for insomnia in children with autism. These kids were given either 2 or 5 milligrams, given it nightly, and after 52 weeks of continuous treatment. Okay, they took melatonin every day for a year to really test the long-term safety. Okay? They were able to sleep 62 minutes longer. They were able to fall asleep 48 minutes faster. They had 89 minutes longer uninterrupted sleep episodes, less nightly awakenings by 50%, and a better sleep quality. Caregivers' satisfaction of their child's sleep patterns improved significantly, and melatonin was seen to be generally safe. The most frequent mild side effects were fatigue in about 5% and mood swings in about 3%. So, great long-term safety trial saying that, you know what, pretty much melatonin worked. All these sleep parameters of how fast you fell asleep, how long you stayed asleep, less wakenings through the night, all improved with melatonin. Few people had some side effects. And those side effects, in my opinion, and we're going to get into this bigger research study, those side effects, in my opinion, have to deal with the genetics of metabolizing melatonin, okay? So if you can't get rid of your melatonin, then you're going to wake up and still be tired. Okay, that melatonin's still burning in your brain. It should be out by the end of that 4-hour sleep cycle. But if your body genetically just doesn't get rid of it quickly, you're going to wake up tired and you're going to wake up cranky. Okay, because that melatonin is still trying to make you drag down. I've even tried to take melatonin if I woke up through the night with my daughter. Be like, you know what, it's 4 o'clock, but I got to 4 a.m., but I got to fall asleep. I know I got to wake up at 6 for work. But I'd take a melatonin, and then 6 o'clock would come, and geez, I couldn't shake it. Couldn't shake that grogginess and fogginess in my brain because the melatonin was still there. So again, if your body genetically doesn't process it quickly, you're going to wake up tired and cranky. All right. And again, that was in like 5 to 3% of kids. All right. Here's the last research study, but I was able to print out the entire thing. All right. And there's a lot in here that I wanted to unwrap. Again, very similar, but I find it intriguing. This is the efficacy and safety of melatonin treatment in children with autism and in ADHD, and this was published 4 years ago back in 2020. Boy, COVID seems so long ago, does it? Huh? Crazy times 4 years ago. All right. Here's some basics. Melatonin is a naturally synthesized hormone secreted mainly from the pineal gland, and its production is suppressed by light. As I mentioned before, if it's light outside, if it's light in your room, if you're watching a screen, your melatonin's not going to be secreted. Good quality sleep contributes to better functioning, improvement in well-being, and in cognitive function. Poor quality of sleep can be manifested by deteriorated concentration, emotional liability, impulsive behavior, can also lead to a decrease in energy, anxiety, irritability, and fatigue. Children with neurodevelopmental diseases may be related to even 80% of patients with sleep issues. Okay, again, pretty basic stuff, all right? The stuff that seems pretty understandable and, is something we all get. Poor sleep is worse concentration, worse behavior, worse energy, worse irritability, worse anxiety, worse fatigue. And the better you sleep, the better you feel and the better you function. We all need it, okay? So that was some basics. Here's a quick stat. Decrease in melatonin levels occurred in 51% of autism patients, okay? So again, there's a lot of our kids that have sleep issues, all right? Sleep disorders affect 50 to 80% of autistic patients. Sleep disorders can present differently and take the form of difficulty falling asleep, delayed falling asleep, light sleep, frequent awakenings, shortening the sleep duration, daytime sleepiness, and insomnia, all right? So again, we all know the symptoms. We either don't fall asleep, we don't stay asleep, and then we feel crappy in the morning, we're cranky in the morning. But 50 to 80% of our kids, that's a lot, okay? And I do want to go back to that co-sleeping. Co-sleeping is a great Band-Aid if it works for you. I get it, but it's not helping their sleep. It's helping them fall back to sleep because they see you and they feel safe. But it's not making their sleep better. It's making our sleep better, which we need it. I get it. But we still have to help our kids sleep, okay? Or if your kid's got the Jimmy legs, what's going on? All right, sleep disorders in ADHD patients are 25 to 50% of kids, or some research studies show up to 70% of kids. Okay, lot of stuff. For those of you with your kids who have ADD and are on stimulants like Ritalin or Adderall or Concerta or Vyvanse or Quilivan or whatever new one they've got out there, sleep disorders can be an adverse effect of stimulant drugs. Okay, which makes sense. It's a stimulant. It's designed to rev your brain. It's an accelerator, okay? That's what those meds do. They make your brain go faster so you can focus and concentrate. but they can also cause problems with sleep, especially your kids that take after-school doses, all right? This is, I don't even call it a side effect in my practice. I call it the effect. The effect is to make your brain awake, okay? Guess what? When it's sleep time, if that med's still in your system, you're going to have some sleep problems. And I see pediatricians deny it, which I find baffling to me. You're hitting the accelerator of the brain. That's what you're trying to do. Of course it's going to affect sleep, all right? Of course it's going to affect your heart. I mean, if you're on ADD stimulants, you're supposed to be getting EKGs. That's in the paperwork. Check out the fine print of the white sheet when you get your meds, all right? Read that. You're supposed to be getting EKGs because those stimulants can affect your kids' hearts, right? Most docs don't do it. Treatment should be mainly based on following the sleep hygiene and behavioral interventions, as we talked about in the beginning of the podcast. Now, melatonin should be administered 30 minutes before bedtime at a dose of 1 to 3 milligrams if it's to act as a sleep inducer. All right, and this research study has some concrete numbers, which I really like. So as this one said, if you wanted to induce sleep, 30 minutes before bedtime, 1 to 3 milligrams. Okay, here's some more of those stats. Melatonin reaches its maximum concentration 1 hour after administration. The standard dose has not been established. Child's age or weight was not associated with melatonin dose response. The dose should be increased by 1 milligram every 2 weeks. Even high doses of melatonin did not result in the intended effect due to slow melatonin metabolism due to single nucleotide polymorphism, or a SNP, of CYP1A2. Let's pause there. There's a lot there. I want to go over every single piece because I think it dispels some urban myths. Number one, melatonin reaches its maximum concentration 1 hour after being administered. Okay, it's got to get in your belly, and you got to absorb it. So you take it at 8 o'clock. It's going to start building within 30 minutes, and then 9 o'clock it's at your peak dose. So if you want to use that knowledge to plan your timing of sleep, use that. Okay. The standard dose has not been established. Let me say that again. The standard dose of melatonin has not been established. All right. What you see on the market is 3 milligrams. Somebody just made that up. I mean, the first person who decided to sell melatonin said, "How's 3 milligrams sound? That was good to me." Okay. Boom, 3 milligrams. There's no science on that's the dose that works the best or the average dose for people. It's just came out. And everybody was like, "Hey, that's what you're doing. That's what I'll do." All right. Obviously, now we can get different doses. You can get 1 milligram dose. You can get 20 milligram doses of melatonin, which people normally use in oncology as a cancer treatment. A lot of research on melatonin and cancer treatments. So it's, the dose is not established. So you need to experiment. You need to trial and error. Okay. The child's age or weight is not associated with melatonin dose. I'll say that again. The child's age or weight is not associated with melatonin dose. Okay? When we deal with things in the brain, it's not based on how much you weigh or how old you are. It's just based on how it works and your own genetics. So, yeah, I would start at 1 milligram, increase slowly, see what works best. Medicine is Goldilocks, people. Not too little, not too much, just right. The dose should be increased by 1 milligram every 2 weeks, based on one scientist. But again, another thing I find really intriguing, I was talking to my wife about this today because we like to talk about medical philosophy. High doses of melatonin did not result in the intended effect in those who are slow metabolizers due to a SNP genetic polymorphism of CYP1A2. There's a lot of medical words in that. What does that mean? Okay? Some people can take a boatload of melatonin and it doesn't work. Why? Because melatonin has to be, activated, basically, to take its effect in the brain. It gets activated by this enzyme called CYP1A2. So if that's not working, then your melatonin doesn't work and you stay awake a lot, okay? And what I also found interesting is that same CYP1A2, that same gene, that same SNP, is also the one that removes caffeine. So if that gene isn't working, you just stay awake because your melatonin isn't working. And if you drink caffeine in the morning, it's still in your system at night. Just really philosophically entertaining to me. But again, people have genetics where melatonin just doesn't work. So if you've tried it and, hey, it just doesn't work, A, stop caffeine. But B, people are different. Okay? All right. What do we got left here? All right. Safety. Everybody's concerned about safety. Melatonin treatment is widely reported as safe. However, adverse effects are rarely reported in the literature, but there are mild side effects, such as increased nocturnal enuresis, which is nighttime bedwetting, morning drowsiness, headache, dizziness, and gastric complaints. Let me talk about this. Hey, if you knock me out with melatonin and I'm not perfectly potty trained, I might pee myself in bed. All right, that makes sense. Morning drowsiness, if I took too much, that makes sense. Headache and dizziness because I feel tired and groggy, sure. Gastric complaints, melatonin and can start to activate the bowels. Okay, and be like, hey, let's get up and get rid of things. Okay, so that can be a side effect in some. Something we talked about in last week's podcast. We talked about puberty in last week's podcast. Melatonin was not confirmed to deviate pubertal development. Okay, so we talked about this in our podcast last week. We had a question about, hey, melatonin and puberty. There is no science currently that melatonin, taking it as a supplement, will affect when you start puberty. All right, good to know. Good to know the research is there. All right, that, my friends, is our research for today. So let's do a quick sum up and give you the coupon for the weekend and answer our live questions. Melatonin. We all know about it. We're all pretty familiar with it. Our brain makes it, and it initiates sleep. We sleep in these 4-hour cycles. Hopefully we get 2 4-hour cycles for a minimum of 8 hours sleep. All right. Melatonin only helps you fall asleep. All right. In my opinion, it doesn't help you stay asleep more than the 4 hours. I gotta read Jeannie's comment. She said, stop my caffeine. Never. I hear you, Jeannie. I'm like, I do 5 espressos a day, but I switched to decaf. So I do like 2 calf, 3 decaf espressos. So if you like the taste, go for it. Anyway, boy, I got off track thinking about my espresso. All right. So melatonin, fall asleep, 4-hour sleep cycles. But if you wake after 4 hours, you're a light sleeper. Okay. What can we do to sleep through the night? All right. Look at temperature in the room. Number 1, look at lighting in the room. Try to avoid, if you need a night light, I get it. Try to avoid white lights. Try to avoid blue lights. I would rather go for red or orange lights because it matches sunset. Our brain secretes melatonin when it's dark. The sun starts to set. It starts to get dark. Our brain is functioning. I don't know how the light waves get through our skull to get to the pineal gland, but darkness affects melatonin production. Pretty cool stuff, okay? How do we stay asleep? Well, the way I like to stay asleep or help my patients stay asleep is by using serotonin supplements. So serotonin is a chemical in the brain that helps with mood, helps with language with our kids. But serotonin will actually convert into melatonin. So I find when we take melatonin supplements, they help you fall asleep, which is great. And supplements like 5-HTP or tryptophan are the precursors of serotonin and melatonin. So we're actually encouraging our body to make more and help stay asleep. So that's one way. It doesn't work for everybody, but works for a lot of my patients, that you can take both melatonin and a serotonin supplement to stay and fall asleep. Okay? And my goal for you guys is to have a kid sleeping 8 hours through the night in their own room. Okay? I don't want them co-sleeping with you. All right? I understand, hey, been there, done that. I need my sleep, but it's not optimal. And it's not optimal because your child's still not sleeping through the night. They're waking up, seeing you, going back to sleep, but they're still waking. That's not good for them. All right, good for us, but let's make it good for everybody. All right, so let me show you our supplements that we have. We have a melatonin lozenge. Actually, let me open this up. I'm not going to take it right now because I don't want to fall asleep, but I want to show you what it looks like. They are tiny, like our serotonin supplements. Super tiny little tablet there, which you can chew or just suck on if you want. Okay. If you want to boost serotonin levels, and again, serotonin makes melatonin, our super serotonin supplement, super popular. Again, very similar, probably twice the size, but another little tablet. Then last but not least, for those of you who are just tired of giving your kids so many pills, and I get it, we have our sleep cream. Okay, so you rub this on your kid, and it'll help them fall asleep. It includes melatonin. It includes 5-HTP, which is going to make the serotonin. It also includes GABA, theanine, and tryptophan. And tryptophan and 5-HTP make serotonin and melatonin. So Sleep cream is great. I know a lot of you guys out there use it and swear by it. It's great stuff. I will say this. If you put it on with your own hand, you might get tired yourself. So if you don't want to fall asleep, you may need to use like a glove, rubber glove and rub it on your kids so you don't get that melatonin. Okay. Coupon of the weekend, everybody, is Melatonin 20. Melatonin 20 gets you 20% off any of our supplements, any of our lab tests on SpectrumAwakening.com. That expires August 11th, 2024. And if you want one-on-one help, you can set up a telemedicine video appointment with me. I talk to people all over the world. It's great. I mean, I've been doing this for 20 plus years, and I love helping you guys help your kids. So any way we can do that, whether it's our podcast, whether it's our supplements, whether it's our online lab testing, whether it's our free ebooks or our educational courses that we're trying to enhance, whether it's telemedicine visits with me, any way that we can help you guys, we're trying to do. I've even got a second meeting with Amazon today. We're trying to onboard our supplements onto Amazon and then get into Amazon international arenas like Canada and India, etc. All right, let's get to the live questions for the day. Live shout out to Jenny. Live shout out to Colleen. Megan, if giving methylcobalamin, what's the max dose one should use of superfolinic acid? There is no max dose except what your child does well with, okay? So we recommend starting at 1/8 of a teaspoon, and every few days you can up it by 1/8 of a teaspoon. But again, it's Goldilocks, so find the dose that works best for you. There is some B12 in our folinic acid, but it's a very, very small amount. Very small amount. Megan, is the gut shelf-stable probiotic third-party tested? Great question, Megan. Yes, every single one of our supplements is third-party tested. Our producer follows all FDA guidelines and regulations, and all of our labs go through GMP, good manufacturing policies to ensure that our supplements match label claim. What does that mean? That means if this says I've got, oh, good Lord. If this says 3 grams of melatonin, there better be 3 grams of melatonin, not less, not more, okay? So we make sure we test to match label claims, and of course our supplements are all tested for heavy metals and for infections, for pathogens, okay? So that's all of our third-party testing according to the guidelines of GMP and FDA. Megan, what other probiotic products in the lineup act as a prebiotic? Really, 2. Number 1, our Prebiotic Supreme. And number 2, our brown log fiber. I prefer the brown log fiber to the Prebiotic Supreme. It's more comprehensive and tastes better. But those are our 2. Jenny, anything to help my son and his OCD? He started hitting walls, chairs as he's walking, sensory biting, having to watch doors, people. Doctor talked about starting Prozac. I'd rather him be on a supplement. Well, Jenny, let me walk backwards through what you said. Doctors love to give out Prozac. Hey, you sad? Let me give you a Band-Aid that you're going to have to be on for the rest of your life, okay? It's not a cure. It's not understanding why he's doing those things. It's the pharmaceutical straitjacket. I'm not a big fan when those medications have side effects. The antidepressants, SSRIs, like Prozac, have side effects in children of suicidal ideation. And if we have kids who are nonverbal or don't understand how to communicate their emotions and they're feeling that way, well, I wouldn't want anything bad to happen. So if we can use something natural and have the same or better effect, let's do it. I would say when you're dealing with OCD, the number one thing that you should do is look for gut infections. Gut infections are so common in our kid, and they can really cause a lot of anxiety, and our kids lash out when they're in pain. So I would either try our yeast mold bundle or get a stool analysis. I would go down that pathway. You can also try our super serotonin or our Spectrum Tranquility. They're great, but I would look for that cause. And it's often with our kids, it's gut infections. Not all the time, but it's so common. Gada, my autistic child likes eating paper. How can I manage it? Well, this depends if it's sensory, then we have to work on inflammation, or if it's pica. Pica is when you eat things you shouldn't be eating, like dirt and chalk and ice and paper. So if he's chewing on it, it's probably sensory. But if he's trying to eat it, it might be pica. And pica is just a fancy medical term for a mineral deficiency. So you're going to want to give him a mineral supplement. We've got one, a detox mineral replacement, but you want a multi-mineral. Okay? Things like zinc and iron, etc. Jasmine, good morning. Could an ear infection trigger PANS pandas? Yep. Any infection can trigger PANS. Any infection can trigger PANS. Also, could an antibiotic make yeast worse? Always. always and forever. Why? Because we've got bacteria in our gut that are good and healthy. Antibiotic kills it all, the good guys, the bad guys. So there's this open space. Whatever is there and can take hold will. So yes, antibiotics always, for everyone, increase the risk of fungal infections such as yeast and other bacterial infections such as C. diff. This is well known. This is why the medical community is trying to reduce their use of antibiotics, because that's one of the major side effects. And that's why everybody should use probiotics with their antibiotics. All right? It doesn't work all the time, but it's what you can do. Janice, live shout out. Got it. My autistic child, after taking melatonin for 6 months, he gets up very, very early at 3 o'clock in the morning. Should I stop taking melatonin? You know, this is a great kind of question based on what we were talking about today. Is melatonin helps you fall asleep. It doesn't help you stay asleep. So if you needed to fall asleep, use it. But if you may want to add something on, like our super serotonin, or just use our sleep cream to get both effects. And again, you know, the bedroom environment. Let's make it dark. If you need a sound machine, let's make it the right temperature. Experiment. More warm, more hot. What works for them? Jesse, can you make a tasty Apraxima supplement with phosphatidylcholine and vitamin E and omegas? Let me talk to my producer, Jesse. That's, yeah, I mean, omegas is tough because they taste like fish. And I don't find the vegan ones really work, honestly. But yeah, it's hard to get rid of that fish. But those are all great fat-soluble stuff, Jesse. Ryan, my kids have LED lights strung through the room and they're always on. Well, if they're the color-changing ones, go with the darker ones, Ryan. Like, go with the red and the warm lights, and they will keep your kids awake. Keep us all awake. You know, I mean, I remember, you know, back in the days, my daughter would get up. It's 3 a.m. I'd get back into bed. I had the choice: try to go back to sleep, or I open my phone, take a look, and then I couldn't fall asleep for another hour. And again, look, I get you're scared of the dark. Okay, you know, you want some lights, but lower, warmer. Yolene's always on. Hey, Doc, my 13-year-old daughter was in a car accident. I'm so sorry. I hope she's okay with her dad in June, and now she doesn't sleep through the night. Besides melatonin, anything else? Okay, Yolene is a great question. So first off, I'm sorry your daughter got in a car accident. I hope she's okay. But what's going to happen is she's stressed, okay? And she hasn't gotten over that stress response. That stress response is controlled by something called cortisol. What we need to do is lower that cortisol level. I want you to try our Temper Tamer 2 supplement. I mean, melatonin, yeah, you can do that as well, but I think we really need to get at that cause, which is the stress response. Georgette, hi, Doc. Hope you're well. I am. My son has no problem falling asleep, but has a problem staying asleep. He always sleeps around 8 p.m., wakes up at 12. I'm going to just stop there. 4-hour cycle, Georgette just said. Asleep at 8, awake at midnight. 4-hour cycle. That's what humans do. Then he's restless for the rest of the evening. How can we assist him? Well, again, you got two options, Georgette. When he gets up at midnight, you can give him another melatonin. As long as he doesn't have to be awake for 4 hours, you can give him more melatonin, or again, give him something like our serotonin support or our sleep cream to help him stay asleep, and look at the bedroom environment. Samia, hey, please, what can help my autistic child to perform good with her academic work? This is a great question. We're going to be having next week's podcast about ADD and focus and concentration. We've actually just improved our attention on the double supplement. I want you to start there. We have a supplement called Attention on the Double, which increases dopamine production in the brain. That's how the ADD meds work. Try that. And again, listen to next week's podcast. We're going to be talking all about ADD. Haley is sharing. Thanks, Haley. Thanks, doctor, for your supplements and your advice. It helps my child so much and improved his behavior, but communication is still the problem. What's the best supplements for communication? Well, again, I always start out with our brain chemistry supplements, things like Power and Focus and the Skowron solution. So I always want you to start there. If you've done that, I think the next step for language is detox. We have alpha lipoic acid, we have glutathione, we have binders. There's other detox supplements out on the market. We're trying to produce one, but our manufacturers can't keep up, honestly. I was talking to my producer yesterday, and I was like, how's our multi coming? Because we're going to have that multi out really soon. We're on our 3rd test run, and he's sending me a sample of that, so it should be in the mail today. So we should have our brand new Best Autism Multivitamin for October. Okay, and again, my goal, we never had them. I mean, we have a multivitamin that's really good and it's really high quality, but it's not autism specific. So I was never really encouraged to be like, hey, this is the This is the vitamin that you want because, yeah, it's a great vitamin, very high quality, but I wanted something autism specific. So again, having this Spectrum Awakening been around 10 years, we're finally launching an Autism Multi when I'm hoping it is the best one on the market. I mean, I've been taking 20 years of experience and all the science that's out there. What do our kids really need? Let's put it in one. Coming out October. Anyway, I digest. Our new detox supplement hasn't even gotten into manufacturing yet because the factories, the producers, just so busy. I mean, they're backlogged. We've got a couple backlogs on different supplements because they can't keep up. So we're doing what we can. That was a really long answer to your question. Got ADHD with autism. What supplements are best? What should I avoid taking? If he takes any supplement, he becomes aggressive. How can I improve his attention without using a stimulant? Got it. This is great. We're going to be talking about this at length in next week's podcast. When you look at ADD, I'll just give a brief summary. Look at ADD. What does it mean? It's lack of attention and focus. Okay. It used to be broken down into ADD and ADHD. Now they just lump them together with subsets. Look, that's all semantics. You know, if your brain can't concentrate, your brain's either going too fast or too slow. Okay? And the number one treatment out there pharmaceutically are stimulants. Assuming the brain's going too slow and can't focus and concentrate, you take a Ritalin, you take an Adderall, you take a Concerta, you take a methylphenidate, whatever, you speed everything up in your body, your brain, your heart, your everything, okay? If your brain's going slowly, that's going to work. But if your brain's going fast and you make it faster, you're going to get aggressive, you're going to have sleep problems, you're going to have the common side effects of the ADHD stimulants, okay? So what do I do then? Well, again, we live in this dichotomy world. If I push left and it's bad, let me push right. If I push up, it's bad, I push down. If I stimulate and it's bad, I sedate. So I want him on things that are relaxing, like our Common Cool, our Spectrum Tranquility, our Temper Tamer 2. Try those things. All right, next. Jeannie, stop my caffeine. Never. I hear you. Denise, relieved to hear the safety of melatonin. My son is taking it for years. Now, as a caveat to that, it may be hard to come off of melatonin, okay? Because the body does have to get used to producing it on its own. It probably shuts down its own production of it when it's getting it, exogenously or orally or from supplements. So, if you do want to get off melatonin, you may have to wean, okay? Jesse, what supportive supplements do you recommend alongside transdermal DMPS chelation? Minerals, and binders. Okay, we have a detox mineral replacement, and we've got a binder, detox binderific. We also have our gut binder sweet tasting, which is another option. Mary, what's good to take if a child is having behaviors due to gut die-off? Binders. Okay, you want to bind that stuff and get it out of the body. Again, we've got our detox binderific, we have our yeast mold binder, and we have our gut binder sweet tasting. Binders if you have gut die-off. That's what you want to hammer home. Charlotte, so give 5-HTP melatonin? Yes. In the morning? No. Before bed. 5-HTP and melatonin before bed. Mumtaz. Doctor, my daughter takes 2 milligrams of melatonin. She's now sleeping at a set time about 9:30 to 10:30, but wakes at 5:30. What should I do to make her sleep longer? Again, I love this example, okay? 9:30 to 5:30, that's 8 hours. That's the 2 4-hour cycles. She's sleeping in a way that kind of fits human nature, okay? We want her to sleep longer, and I get it. Try our super serotonin. Diane, hello, everyone. Hi, Diane. Benny, hey, doc, should I space the melatonin and serotonin within an hour or at the same time? Same time is fine. Georgette, yes, for Amazon. SA can get it easier then. Georgette, if you say SA, do you mean South Africa? Because we want to know where you guys are. And we want to know, when you Amazon's a lot. I mean, Amazon's a necessity of the day, but it's a pain. So if we want to, right now we're starting in Amazon US. To be in another country is a whole nother application process per country. So we want to know where you guys are, where you want stuff and what you want. And that's the next country we'll apply to. Like the top 2 on our list right now are Amazon Canada and Amazon India. If you guys are in another country and you want it in that Amazon, contact us, tell us, we'll put it on our list. Diane, why super serotonin work better for my son than melatonin? Probably because of those melatonin genetics that didn't kick in for your kid. Okay? Or they made their own melatonin, which was fine, they just didn't stay asleep. Stacy, hope Jack's doing well. Would super serotonin dose be the same as melatonin? The age weight are not relevant. The age weight are not relevant. It's Goldilocks. It's trial and error. Okay. So melatonin is usually 1 to 3 milligrams. 5-HTP is usually 100 to 300 milligrams. Same thing as Mumtaz. What dose is super serotonin okay with melatonin? Again, the melatonin is 1 to 3 milligrams. Super serotonin is 100 to 300 milligrams. So you've got this times 100 factor. It's a good way to remember it. Benny, I just ordered the Paragon. When should, I'm not sure what Paragon is. Maybe that's Paraslayer. When should I give it to my son? Oh, probably serotonin. Evening. Diane, thank you so much for your advice. You gave me a while ago how to keep C. diff away. It has not returned. Thank you for the gut reset probiotic as well. Diane, I am super happy that your C. diff has stayed away. We want to do everything we can naturally, and I'm glad it worked. Jeannie, can my child take Concerta and the Skowron solution? Yep. You can. Again, Concerta is another ADHD stimulant. Diana, for DS, I assume you mean Down syndrome. Would you recommend a test to make sure they don't have the gene that melatonin works? You could do that genetic SNP analysis. Your folinic acid been using, but I'm looking at the research on a cerebral folate disorder. And yes, cerebral folate disorder, it's diagnosed with a spinal tap, invasive, but the treatment's folinic acid. So try it. Diana, I've been worried about GABA. A lot of people are. Look, GABA is a protein. It's in every protein you eat. You eat peanut butter, you eat a burger, you eat chicken nuggets, you got GABA, okay? GABA as a supplement can help a lot of people. Other people, it doesn't work. And that's life. That's the spectrum. That's everybody. Everybody's a little different. I wouldn't worry about it. I would try it and see how it works for you. If it's good, great. If it's not, stop, okay? Great time to mention, that's why Spectrum Awakening has a 30-day return policy. If something's not working for you, your kid doesn't like the taste, you change your mind, whatever. Spectrum Awakening would rather you send it back for a refund within 30 days than not try anything at all, because there's too many things that can help your kids improve. Jody, what do you recommend for a child with anxiety, fight or flight mode? Try our Temper Tamer. Okay, that anxiety, fight or flight is all about cortisol, about stress. Watch our Stress Cortisol podcast as well. Megan, any sneak peek of what's going to be in the new multi? Funny you asked that. I literally about an hour ago, right before the podcast started, printed out the full ingredient list. It's not in this room, so I don't have it in front of me. But you know what? I'll tease it next week. Tracy, yeast mold bundle. Why is there an option for GFSC or colloidal silvers? Because some people can't take grapefruit because of blood pressure? No, it's just because I like both grapefruit seed extracts and colloidal silver, and I want to give you guys options, but those are my two favorites. You can order both. Georgette said thank you. You're welcome, Georgette. Cassandra, do all of your supplements work for adults too? Yep. Dosages, I would just double the dose. Dolly, I want to thank you so much for Mitomax. After 1 year, my daughter finally low normal range. She was definitely for most of her years. Thank you. Dolly, I'm glad it worked. You're welcome. Help me spread the word. I make this stuff for my patients. I make this stuff for you guys and families and kids. All I want to do is help kids get better. So I'm glad it worked, Dolly. Thanks for sharing your success story. Let's spread the word, everybody. Jesse, woohoo for the multi. I'll definitely try that. Everybody should try that. Oh my gosh. Natalie says, Doc, I hope you can visit Tampa again. I'm trying to make a plan. I don't know if it's going to be this fall or next spring, but my producer's in Tampa, so I try to make it down there once a year or once every other year. Bella, good morning. From Carlsbad, please bring the new multivitamin to Taka. Oh, Bella. Not only am I going to have the new multi in Taka, I told my producer I need it for Taka, and I need 100 sample bottles. So get ready for Saturday. Is it Friday night or Saturday night? Friday night or Saturday night, Spectrum Awakening is hosting an event, and we're going to be giving away some samples of our new multi. So I will be bringing the bottles, but I will be bringing some samples for all. We're excited to see you again. When mixing melatonin and serotonin, it's okay to add magnesium or common cool. Yes, and yes. And she loves the sleep cream, which has magnesium and melatonin and 5-HTP and tryptophan, which make serotonin. Dolly, should I stay at 1,500 milligrams of Mitomax? Yeah, that works. Natalie, my son's been on melatonin for years, and right now nothing is putting him to sleep. He's not sleeping at night. Okay, and again, because some people have the genetics where that doesn't work. Switch to our sleep cream or to super serotonin, see if that works. And again, room environment, see if that helps. Chua, hey doc, thanks a lot for always educating us. If there's no lab test, can we use different kinds of Spectrum Awakening supplements? Of course you can. If you want some guidance, you don't need lab tests, all right? If you want some guidance, download our free ebooks. They kind of walk you through the method of my madness of how to do this. Diana, can you do the binders if you're not sure? Yeah, binders are great for everybody. We should all do binders. Our bellies are full of bleh. Get rid of it. Lauren, is there a detox for ibuprofen and Tylenol from a week because of heavy use of tonsillectomy? Yes, and I'm going to do an Instagram reel on this because we're getting a lot of traction and a lot of interest on acetaminophen toxicity. And make sure you're following us on Instagram. We have an Instagram. I didn't do much on it for a long time, but I'm starting to now for the past few months. So Instagram is Spectrum Awakening, but we're trying to put on little reels, which are nice, tiny nugget-sized bites that you can digest. And we're going to be doing something on Instagram about that. But basically, two things to do. Number one, NAC. Do I have any here? Oh, I do. NAC is the detox for Tylenol. It is what's used in hospitals for Tylenol poisoning, okay? If you get Tylenol poisoning in the hospital, you get 15,000 milligrams of this shot into your veins with an IV. These pills are only 500 milligrams a piece, so you're not going to get up to 15,000 milligrams. But NAC constantly every day is the defined medical treatment for Tylenol poisoning. In fact, something else that'll piss you off, there's a new patented Tylenol IV medication that includes NAC. They're including the antidote with the medicine. Why are we selling a medicine that needs an antidote? You got me, but that's what it is. There's also a Tylenol homeopathic that you can make your own at home, and I've got that video on my YouTube channel, so you can watch Tylenol homeopathic production. Benny, I ordered Paraslayer, AM or PM? Both, Benny. Both. Donna, what can boost conversational skills in kids? Like kids who's verbal but not conversational. Again, I want to make sure you try our brain vitamins, Power and Focus, and the Skowron solution is where to start. If you've done that, go with detox. Jeannie, my daughter's affected greatly by gut issues. She's had colonoscopies and endoscopies. She seems in pain several times a day. What should you try? You probably got a gut infection. So many of our kids on the spectrum do. Listen to our podcast about gut infections and candida. Try our yeast mold bundle. Get a stool test. That's the way to go. Hobbs is sharing. Thanks, Hobbs. Tracy, is there a supplement for if you eat something with gluten? Yes, we have it. Where is it? I don't know if I have it on my desk. We have a gluten digestive enzyme. It specifically digests gluten, okay? You might be able to have your cake and eat it too. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we have a gluten digestive enzyme. It's not our regular digestive enzymes. It's specific. Take that when you eat gluten. Donna, what do you use to detox? We use alpha-lipoic acid, called ALA, glutathione, and a detox binder, which is mostly chlorella-based. All right. Great podcast, everybody. That's all the live questions I see. If you do have another question, you type it in the comment section, but let me give a little review. Sleep is important. Sleep is important for all of us. Man, we all need it. Without it, we go crazy. Okay? And our kids need it too. And many of our kids, over half, with autism, have sleep problems. Either they don't fall asleep well, they don't stay asleep well, they don't get the 8 hours plus they need. So how can we help them? Well, a lot of people are interested in melatonin. Melatonin is made in the brain that makes you fall asleep. It gets secreted by the brain when it's dark out. So it's really important to have a good sleep environment where it's dark, maybe a sound machine, and a good temperature that your child's comfortable with. Now, I understand some kids need night lights. My daughter has one. You want things that are red or orange because it matches the sunset. If it's white or if it's blue, it matches daytime light. Your brain gets confused and doesn't sleep as well. Okay? So get the sleep environment going. You can take melatonin supplements to help you fall asleep. They've been researched, in our kids with autism to be safe. Now, you may have a mild side effect, like you're groggy in the morning because you took too much, or some behavior issues. But that's definitely, something that could be going on in a small amount of kids. If your child doesn't stay asleep, what I normally recommend is our super serotonin product or our sleep cream that has a lot of stuff in it together. And if you're done with pills, something like that. Okay. Here's our coupon of the weekend, and there's a couple other live questions. SpectrumAwakening.com. Coupon's Melatonin20, going to get you 20% off any of our supplements, any of our lab tests. That expires August 11th, 2024. And of course, if you want a one-on-one appointment with me, go to our website and book one. It is that simple. Couple other questions. Ruby, my son can't sit next to you without being all touchy and grabby. Is there anything that can help with this? It's really annoying. Well, Ruby, it's either sensory or anxiety. So I want you to try our Common Cool. And again, I've been saying this a lot today, but look for gut infections. Yeah, try our Common Cool or super serotonin. Again, is it a sensory thing or is it an anxiety thing? Diana said, thank you. You're welcome, Diana. Dolly, I think on a comment I forgot to tell you, carnitine levels that are low normal. Yeah, make sure you're giving carnitine. We have a carnitine. We have Mitomax. It's great stuff. You make great supplements. Thank you, Dolly. I really try to. I make these for my patients. I want them good quality. We're not just some companies like, hey, I'm going to sell something to kids with autism. I mean, we have 75 supplements I use in my practice. I make for my patients. And we offer to you guys online, across the world, international distributors. You know, we want to help kids. Jody, thank you so much, Doc. This was great. Definitely going to check out your other podcast. Thank you, Jody. I think we have over 160. So, boy, I had a patient the other couple weeks ago said, I listened to all 160 hours of your podcast. Said, I don't think my wife's listened to me that much for 160 hours. Man. Diane said, thank you so much. You're welcome, Diane. Crystal, what's the cause for increased stimming? It's inflammation. Try our temper tamer supplement. That helps a lot. Benny, thanks. I just read an article discussing the Hellman therapy. Is it legit? Well, Benny, let me say this. That's a whole nother podcast to get into. But I've personally used the Hellman therapy with some of my patients, and I never saw a benefit. But I do feel that the idea that we need to get rid of parasites is very true. I just don't know if the Hellman therapy is effective. It hasn't been for any of my patients. Megan, if you're dosing NAC, it doesn't show on testing, it's because it's pulling the Tylenol out of their system. I think it's because it's your body needs it. Maybe not by the Tylenol, but by other things in general. And NAC detoxes a lot of stuff. So if it shows low on testing, just up the dose, up the dose. You can't take too much NAC. Just up the dose. Medina, what would you recommend for Clostridia? Yeast mold bundle? Medina, it showed on the O test. You forgot to tell me, Dr. Skowron. Well, my apologies for that. Jeannie, can my child take Common Cool in the Skowron solution? Yes. Benny, once again, thank you. You're welcome, Benny. All right, everybody. Ooh, one more, Medina. Can I give Power and Focus? Can I give with your Mitomax? Yes. I stopped Power and Focus since I started Mitomax. No, we get this question a lot. You can get most all of our supplements together. A couple of the exceptions, things that make you sleep, like super serotonin you want before bed, like melatonin you want before bed. I wouldn't mix our probiotic or any probiotic with things that are there to kill infections. So if you're taking colloidal silver or grapefruit extract or our biocillin or our paraslayer, don't take that with the probiotic. You'll kill the probiotic. Okay. So other than that, I think there's no other exceptions to you can take everything and anything all together. Okay. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. More importantly, thank you for doing everything you can for your child. And we will see you guys next week. We're going to be talking about ADD, ADHD, better focus, and better concentration. Have a great weekend, everybody.